right down to earth, in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
MusicUCanSee winner NAMM. Oh my gosh, just a legend. Vernon Reid, cult of personality.
Hey.
Every time I watch WWE, CM Punk comes out to this man's great song.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, you crossing into all these different, like essentially the world of sports and pro wrestling?
Well, the thing for me is, songs can have a curious life. Like the whole way CM Punk connected to cult is so moving because we played the WWE and I had a chance to talk to him, and he said to me when he was 12 years old in Chicago, his coach was a big fan of Cult of Personality, and he played Little League. And so Cult of Personality was the get on the field music, right? And his team won their Little League championship that year. So he always had a love for the tune.
A sentimental love.
Right. And so when he started to wrestle, he remembered that song and being in Little League. And he told me that, and it was like, you don't know when you're doing your thing, you don't know who you're moving and who you're touching. And that was very moving to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one. I think he's the only wrestler that's been able to demand his own theme song from outside of their machine.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So I'm very appreciative of it. Like even how we wound up on Guitar Hero. I met the developers of Guitar Hero here at NAMM. Before they had a little booth, and nobody knew who they were. And it was like, he said, "Hey man, we really like your song, and we would love to do something with you." And I was like, "Hey, cool." I didn't know who they were. They had just Guitar Hero, the first one, and then it blew up, and they were good. They said, "Yo, now it's time," and we did it, and it was just so kind of left of center for it to happen. But it's really about the connection that people have to the music.
Yeah.
So we've been very fortunate. And the other thing that's great about it is that the song is really talking about a phenomenon that we live with every decade. The idea of someone larger than life kind of taking the hold of the imagination of a bunch of people. And it was true. We were talking about Mussolini and Gandhi and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Cult of Personality was true for Obama, and it's definitely true for Donald Trump. It was true for Bill Clinton.
Wow, I never got that insight to that track.
Yeah.
And I think when you write an iconic song like that, because that's an iconic song, like Light My Fire, right?
Right.
It crosses every like universe in the world, like you said, sports,
Yeah.
to film, to TV. It's just one of those songs that's really well written. The writing of that song, when you guys wrote it, was it one of those like quick songs that came?
Well, what was funny about that is that Corey Glover, our lead singer, was humming something to me, and I stumbled on the riff. Da 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 da. So Will was at the drum kit. I said, "Will, put a beat to this." He started playing, and then from that point on, the song kind of assembled itself, using us to do it. Because it was like da 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 da, and I was like da 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 da, and it just kind of, we didn't get in the way of the creation of it. And I happened to have in my red notebook, which I lost on the subway. It's another story.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I had the lyrics. I wrote the lyrics of Cult of Personality as a poem. There was no music, but I wrote, "Look in my eyes, what do you see? The Cult of Personality." The reason I wrote that, see, I'm a kid, a 20th century kid, and I'm a product of the Cold War, right?
Right, 80s.
Right, the product of the Cold War and all that, and basically Khrushchev in the 60s.
Oh yeah.
Khrushchev denounced Stalin. Stalin's ghost had such a grip on the Russian people, and it was Khrushchev, Nikolaus Khrushchev, who said Joseph Stalin erected a cult of personality around himself. And it was such a striking phrase. It really stayed with me. And Khrushchev actually, is interesting because he actually had this idea of peaceful coexistence, like,
Absolutely.
right?
With
But it was rejected. But you know, JFK, you know, they rejected that idea. So Khrushchev was very misunderstood. Like, you know, like when he banged his shoe at the UN, it was because the translation, he couldn't hear the translation. But anyway, that phrase really stayed with me, and it's been really still applicable.
So that's the origin of it. Wow.
Yeah.
And I think back with Khrushchev, with the Cuban Missile Crisis, when Kennedy put out the warning,
Yeah.
they cared more about life than they did missiles, and he backed off.
Yeah, exactly. So it was very interesting how, you know, we came up with this riff, and the other part of it is, that riff owes as much to the Mahavishnu Orchestra, you know, and John McLaughlin, and that kind of fusion music really affected me when I was coming up. So I wouldn't have come up if I hadn't listened to Robert Fripp and John McLaughlin and Carlos Santana. You know, I wouldn't have come up with this da-da-da-da-da-da. That's a product of, also, if I think about like Hendrix, like, you know, the Power of Soul, you know, it's really a riff born out of that exposure. So it really was a product of all of these different things. Yeah.
Wow. I am so grateful to get the actual insight and backstory, because I love backstories in music.
Yeah.
And that's just so powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vernon. It's been a pleasure. MusicUCanSee Winterland, the incredible Vernon Reid. Enter that for the editor. I love it, brother. Thank you. Let's get Derek.